Hello and welcome. This is Japan, and we just had AEW Double or Nothing this weekend, and it was a long show. But I think honestly, out of some of these longer ones, it had a lot of good pacing and a lot of good matches on here to talk about. So let's just jump into it. We'll do the two buy-in matches. Honestly, they had a little bit of stuff and stakes going into it, but the Megan Bain and Penelope Ford versus Anna Jay and Harley Cameron match I thought was pretty solid. Obviously, it's a buy-in. I think there was a lot of stuff that could have been more desired. I'd probably put it in the C just because obviously these buy-in matches don't feel like they're grand enough to be on the card. So like that's kind of an issue. If they gave them the actual card treatment of being on the card and just making the card longer, I think it helps a lot. But putting them in these buy-in, not a lot of people watching it, the crowd's not really into it. Yeah, both of them, honestly, I just put them in C because the men's match wasn't much better. I think I like the women's match overall better, but I think honestly you can put them in C, and there's nothing wrong with either one of those being in C because they're buy-in matches, but nothing too crazy that if you missed it, you didn't miss much. Right off the bat, we had a Owen Hart Foundation finals. It was Jamie Hayter versus Mercedes Moné. Yeah, we kind of figured Mercedes Money was going to win this here. I honestly felt like Jamie Hayter would have been the better choice, but I think they're priming Mercedes to dethrone Tony Storm, so they kind of had to do that. And I think this is kind of the writing on the wall, which kind of honestly sucked because let me move this. Because it was like we're not gonna, we knew Mina wasn't gonna win later. At least I thought, like, with Mercedes winning, it made it a lot of stuff that could have kind of slammed the door there, because we already seen Mercedes and Mina not too long ago. Obviously, I didn't really think Tony Storm was gonna lose either way, but I really wish that there would have been a little bit different. I guess that's maybe just me more nitpicking. This match itself I thought was pretty solid. It was one of Mercedes' better matches. Jamie Hayter didn't look too bad either. I think it was a great start of the show. I'd put it up into A. I don't think it was my. I don't think they. I think they definitely had a lot of time for this match, and I think they could have done a lot more with it with the time limit that they had. And I think that's the only other problem that I'd have with it. 'Cause that's the thing. Like AEW's matches compared to like WWE are just so much longer, so they have so much of a chance to be good, but sometimes they're just too long that they just don't have the same like pacing that other matches have. Like it just feels like there's a lot of just dumb stuff that happens in between it when they could have just ended the match 2 3 minutes earlier and everything would have been better for the whole entire match. Like a 21, this was a 21-minute match, and it really did not feel like it needed to be that long to really put their point across. But next up, we had FTR versus Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness. Uh, I wasn't a big fan of this. FTR is pretty solid tag team. Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness obviously just being a makeshift team for the story. But the whole story in general, I didn't know a lot going into it, so it wasn't anything really my cup of tea. I thought the match was competent enough to be on the card and like was there, but it just wasn't it for me. I'd put it in C. I don't think there was anything wrong with it. I definitely think it was better than the buy-in matches, but I definitely don't. I wouldn't definitely go back to watch this if I was going to watch any of the matches again. Next up, we had Ricochet and Mark Briscoe in a stretcher match. Honestly, I think like they had some really good mixture of like being hardcore, good, just like obviously like just good solid wrestling, some comedy. Like I think there was a good pacing in this match that was very enjoyable. And I think honestly, it was kind of a surprise. I thought it would be either just extremely violent and have really nothing in it, or it would just be kind of lame and boring. But I was pleasantly surprised that both of them came out there and had a really good match. I'd put up an A. I thought it was pretty entertaining. I think the Mercedes and Jamie Hayter match was better, but they're both really high A marks compared to, I guess other stuff. Next up, we had the Hurt Syndicate versus the Sons of Texas. Honestly, this whole thing just kind of didn't work for me. I felt like everybody in this match, other than maybe Dustin Rhodes, like could have done better. I don't think Dustin Rhodes did bad. I just think he's on the older side. But everybody else, I just felt like this kind of was just let's get in here and get out of type of match. And it definitely would have felt better if it was a little bit higher on the card. If they would have swapped this with uh, even just it should have been literally second. I think would have been better. I think sometimes the cards in AEW are just not put in the right position. I don't know if that's like a thing that anybody else really believes, but I feel like at least my pacing is I would like to have the first match being amazing, and then if you're gonna have like a triple main event or double main event, those two need to be your best matches. And if at least my feeling with a lot of this, it wasn't like that. It was like good, bad, good, bad, good. It just kept. It was like roller coastering. Like it was like a really good match, and then it goes to a match I didn't really care for, then to a really good match, and then to a match I didn't care for, then to like some decent stuff, and then it just kind of started going up, and then it went down, up. I don't know, it's best you'll see it on the fans. I'm not probably explaining it great. This, it was C. I do think it's still better than the buy-ins. I do kind of like it better than the other tag match, but still, C is probably the best way I could put it. Then we had Okada versus Mike Bailey. I think this was definitely one of those matches where Okada definitely came out there and showed what he's all about. Mike Bailey is an easy person to have a match with because they just do a great job with everything that they do. And I honestly really wanted Mike Bailey to win, but I didn't think they were going to do it there. But I think this was a really good match. I'd put it up in A. I think out of these three A matches, it might have been one of my favorite out of it. I just think that there was something special about it. Next up, we have Tony Storm versus Mina Shirakawa. I think in general the match was okay. They had some good spots, but I think overall, I definitely feel like it should have had more time than the first women's match, because this is the AEW Championship match. But it didn't feel, like I said, there wasn't a sense that I thought Mina was going to win with Mercedes winning, and I don't know if that's just how I felt, but I felt like if Jamie Hayter would have won, I could have seen Mina definitely winning here or Tony Storm retaining, but I would have felt more like I didn't know for sure. But when it's Mercedes, I'm like, it has to be Tony Storm because they already kind of hinted at that in the future. They've mentioned that like that was a dream match they already wanted and just a bunch of other stuff. So it kind of felt like it was just a side story type thing. I put it in B. I thought it was still better than all the C matches. It had some good back and forth. Mina Shirakawa is great in the ring. Tony Storm's amazing also. They're both great character workers. And it all worked out, I think, pretty nicely. I just wish I had a little bit more to put for it. Next up, we have the Anarchy in Arena. This is, again, my pacing thing. This match should have either been end at the end or should have been second to the end. Third to the end is insane because having to come out after this is not good. And if you were gonna do it, you should have done a better stakes match, like a one-on-one match where people could have like sat in there and watched it, like putting the Tony Storm, Mina Shirakawa match in between these two. Would have been a little bit better, but having that trios match in it, as we'll get to it, was just not the right call. The Anarchy and Arena match, I mean, I don't know how you rate this lower than S tier. It was just a lot of crazy shit between the staple guns, all the stuff with Swerve, like trying to move out of the way and staple people. Great thing. Only thing I would complain about is they wanted to put the song's bodies on there, and that got really weird to hear that just over and over and over again. I don't know why. Maybe it was just me. I it kind of just felt like almost like a hokey movie type thing at the end. But if that's the worst part of the match, I think that's still fine. I think altogether, everybody did a really good job. The women absolutely cooked out there too, and I thought it was a good match. Next up, we had this trios match. Honestly, there was way too good of wrestlers in here to have such a bad match, and yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that. I think they really, once you watch that Stadium match and then you go to this, it's just a letdown that you could. I just didn't even want to watch this. It just, they didn't do as much as you thought. I think I'd put it in C and probably put it better than the buy-ins, but worse than everything else on the card. I mean, Takeshita is one of my favorite wrestlers, especially in AEW, and it's kind of sad to have to put him down there because I think this is his lowest rated match that I've seen all entire year. Obviously, like stuff is going to happen, and I don't think it was anything against him. It's just the where they put it in the card really didn't do it service. And then we had the finale, Adam Page versus Will Ospreay, a nearly 40-minute match. Honestly, I think that was worth it. I'm not a huge, big match, long time, like a long match person. I really, I don't know if it's the ADHD or just stuff. I have trouble focusing for that long of time on just one exact thing. But I think this match is a good exception of it. I think it was all good. Obviously, the back and forth was great. I just, honestly, I feel like Will Ospreay should get his flowers at some point. I mean, he's obviously like a very big AEW promoter and like doing all that. And maybe Adam Page doesn't dethrone Moxley, but I felt like the service should have been Will Ospreay to dethrone him, unless maybe Ospreay helps him at All In. I don't quite understand their decision here, but it was still an absolute banger of a match. Perfect main event. I'd put it up in S. But yeah, you can see how I met with the pacing. I just felt like there was one good match, one bad match, one good match, one bad match, and obviously that's not what some people like. Me personally, I like my perfect structure. It's kind of similar to GM mode in 2K, where you want to have like a banger as the first match, but obviously not your best match, and then you want to have a match. All the matches after that steadily go up until you get to the main event, and they don't do that here, and maybe that's the way that they want to do it. I just feel like it doesn't really work, especially for how long this PLE is, because you really just start dreading in between that. And like me, I'm just like, I'm watching it because I want to review it and talk about it. But at some point, I'm just like, do I even care that much? But yeah, I thought the card all together was a solid A. I mean, it was still a really good show. And yeah, if you guys like this stuff, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially on AEW stuff, because I don't do as much AEW stuff. I like it, but they also the videos don't do that great, and they have very little people actually interact with them. So if you do enjoy it and did listen to all the way to this point in the video, comment something that you like about AEW or your favorite AEW wrestler and stuff like that, just so I know, maybe there's some fans out there and I'd like to cover it more. So I'd really like to know that. But until next time, this has been Japan. I'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye, guys.